Hello and welcome to this week's Crypto Roundup. We've got a packed agenda from a Wall Street Journal report that's causing political uproar to Bitcoin's price soaring on ETF hopes. Plus, we delve into securities concerns in the Lightning Network, FTX's potential restart, and much more. I'm Michael Del Castillo, a Knight Badgett Fellow at Columbia University, and this is your weekly crypto recap. All may not be what it appears in a recent Wall Street Journal report. An October 10 article claimed that Palestinian militant groups had raised a total of $130 million of cryptocurrency ahead of its attacks in Israel, sparking an immediate political reaction. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren, Republican Senator Roger Marshall, and over 100 other U.S. lawmakers cited the report in a letter to Undersecretary for Terrorism and Financial Intelligence Brian Nelson and National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan. The lawmakers called for the administration to, quote, provide additional details on its plan to prevent the use of crypto for the financing of terrorism, end quote. What they failed to mention, though, according to one of the journal's own sources, London-based Elliptic, is that one of the militant groups agreed with the senators. In April, news outlets The New Arab and The Times of Israel published reports citing a statement from Hamas asking people to stop sending them crypto. Both articles cited a Hamas statement I've so far been unable to track down in its original, which reportedly gives the reason for Hamas's request to stop giving them cryptocurrency as, quote, the intensification of prosecution and the redoubling of hostile efforts against anyone who tried to support the resistance through this currency, end quote. As most of our listeners will know, investigative technology recently has proven incredibly adept at tracking down the origin of even well-laundered assets. Apparently, donors are already complying with the Hamas request. According to Elliptic, only $21,000 worth of fresh crypto donations have been made to Hamas since the attacks. That compares to $185,000 worth of crypto Elliptic says has been received by a group called Crypto Aid for Israel. Which begs the question, what are the U.S. senators really hoping to accomplish? On this week's episode of The Chopping Block, Compound Labs founder Robert Leshner said, quote, crypto is not great at illegal finance. Hamas recognizes it too, end quote. As of the time of this recording, neither the Wall Street Journal nor Senators Warren and Marshall had responded to the claims. Nevertheless, a number of efforts are already underway to capitalize on this moment. The Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, otherwise known as FinCEN, a bureau within the U.S. Department of Treasury, issued a warning about virtual currencies being used to finance terrorist organizations like Hamas. In a separate move, the Department of Treasury also proposed new rules targeting cryptocurrency mixers as potential money laundering tools, linking these regulatory efforts directly to concerns about Hamas' use of cryptocurrency. Adding yet another layer of complexity to the story, another group of U.S. lawmakers are turning their attention to major crypto platforms. Republican Senator Cynthia Lummis and Republican Representative French Hill formally requested that the Department of Justice investigate Binance and Tether's potential role in supporting terrorism. In a strongly worded letter to the DOJ, the lawmakers requested a careful evaluation of whether these platforms are, quote, providing material support and resources to support terrorism through violations of applicable sanctions laws and the Bank Secrecy Act, end quote. The lawmakers are specifically calling for quick action to, quote, choke off sources of funding to terrorists targeting Israel. They have asked Attorney General Merrick Garland to reach a charging decision on Binance that reflects the level of their alleged culpability and to expedite investigations into Tether's alleged illicit activities. On a more upbeat note, Bitcoin's price this week surged nearly 18% to a high of $35,150, fueled in part by renewed optimism over the potential approval of spot Bitcoin ETFs. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit this week filed paperwork asserting that the SEC must re-evaluate Grayscale's bid to convert its GBTC fund into a spot Bitcoin ETF. SEC Chair Gary Gensler said that the agency is actively reviewing multiple filings for spot Bitcoin ETFs. Though Gensler didn't specifically mention Grayscale, the Bitcoin Trust has gained a whopping 220% this year, according to a CoinDesk report, even outperforming chipmaker darling NVIDIA. On this Tuesday's episode of Unchained, Bloomberg analyst James Seifert said he expected an ETF could be approved by January 10 next year. That's less than 3 months away. Somewhat surprisingly, though, that didn't keep ARK Invest from offloading approximately $4.3 million worth of GBTC shares and $5 million worth of Coinbase. The market also witnessed over $147 million in liquidations due to Bitcoin's volatility, according to CoinGlass data. Despite these developments, the crypto community remains buoyant, with 84% of the $66 million in weekly institutional inflows directed to Bitcoin-linked funds, according to CoinShares. Antoine Riard, a key developer for Bitcoin's Lightning Network, announced his departure from the project, citing what would be a major vulnerability if proven true. The developer claimed that the network is susceptible to, quote, replacement cycling attacks, end quote, which could allow malicious actors to divert funds. In a post on the Linux Foundation's message board, Riard wrote that, quote, only a sustainable fix can happen at the base layer, end quote, suggesting that changes to Bitcoin's foundational layer might be what's necessary for a long-term solution. After some Chicken Little skies following responses on social media, Riard claimed that security flaws were not, quote, intentional backdoors, end quote. He emphasized that by identifying these alleged vulnerabilities, he did not mean to cast doubt on the competence of the Bitcoin and Lightning development community. He wrote, quote, Lightning experts have already deployed mitigations, end quote. Almost a year after filing for bankruptcy, crypto exchange FTX is reportedly in advanced talks with 3 different bidders for a potential restart. Kevin Kosky of Pernella Weinberg Partners, the firm overseeing the bankruptcy proceedings, said, quote, we are engaging with multiple parties every day, end quote. The options on the table include selling the entire exchange or partnering with another entity to reboot the platform. A decision, he says, is expected by mid-December. Lawyers for FTX's non-U.S. creditors have proposed a deal offering 90% of remaining assets to investors, with conditions for those who withdrew funds before bankruptcy. Over-the-counter trades value FTX creditor claims at 52 cents, up from 20 cents in February, indicating market optimism for asset recovery. The recovery list, considered a valuable asset, has been a point of contention. Judge John Dorsey approved an order to redact customer information for the next 90 days, saying, quote, a platform without customers is nothing, so it has to have value. On Wednesday, wallets tied to FTX and Alameda transferred $10 million worth of ETH, Maker, Aava, and Link to exchanges including Binance and Coinbase, according to Spot Unchained. One possible explanation for the move is to liquidate those assets, putting downward pressure on their price. Nearly 11 months after declaring bankruptcy, crypto lender BlockFi has initiated the process of returning assets to its customers. The company announced on October 24 that it has officially emerged from bankruptcy, with its reorganization plan approved by all relevant stakeholders. Quote, BlockFi is pleased to announce that its bankruptcy plan is effective, end quote, the firm said in a statement. Customers at New York-based BlockFi can now submit withdrawal requests through the company's website, with a deadline set for December 31. BlockFi interest account and loan customers will receive their first wave of distributions in the coming months, according to the plan. The amount of recoveries for customers will be contingent on what BlockFi is able to recover from other bankrupt firms, including none other than FTX. In a whirlwind turn of events, Representative Tom Emmer, a staunch crypto advocate, secured the Republican nomination briefly for U.S. House Speaker, only to withdraw it hours later. Emmer had initially garnered support from House Republicans, receiving 117 votes in a closed-door meeting. The crypto community was abuzz with excitement, but the nomination faced immediate backlash from former President Donald Trump, who labeled Emmer as a global rhino, that's R-I-N-O, a derogatory term that means Republican in name only, and called for other Republicans to reject his candidacy. Matt Gaetz, a key Republican congressman, echoed Trump's sentiments, saying, quote, it's really important that the Speaker of the House have a good relationship with the leader of our party. That's Donald Trump, end quote. Instead, a lesser-known representative and former lawyer for the Creationist Museum, Mike Johnson, was elevated to new Speaker of the House. Coinbase has filed its latest brief against the Securities and Exchange Commission, arguing that the agency's authority should be limited to securities transactions. The crypto exchange is challenging the SEC's application of the Howey test, a standard used to determine what constitutes a security. Quote, "Not every parting of capital with a hope of gain qualifies," end quote, CoinDesk stated in its court filing. On Wednesday morning, Binance, the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, faced a temporary halt in crypto withdrawals due to a technical issue. The issue was promptly resolved, however, and normal service resumed, according to the company's official updates on social media. However, while the issue was fixed quickly, it reignited concerns in the wake of the FTX exchange collapse last year. Binance later confirmed that, quote, "all crypto withdrawals are now back to functioning as usual," end quote, thanking users for their patience. And that's all. Thanks so much for joining us today. Please do stay tuned to Unchained for unparalleled coverage of the Sam Bankman-Fried criminal trial. Laura is in the courtroom delivering first-hand observations and in-depth analysis of this pivotal case. With daily podcasts, videos, and written updates, Unchained is your go-to source for all developments that could redefine the crypto landscape. Visit unchainedcrypto.com and never miss an update. Unchained is produced by Laura Shin with help from Kevin Fuchs, Matt Pilchard, Juan Aronovich, Megan Gavis, Shawshank, and Margaret Curia. The weekly recap was written by Juan Aronovich and edited by myself, Michael Del Castillo. Thanks so much for listening, and I look forward to chatting next week.
Unchained is now a part of the CoinDesk Podcast Network. For the latest in digital assets, check out Markets Daily, 7 days a week, with new host Noel Atchison. Follow the CoinDesk Podcast Network for some of the best shows in crypto.